Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irlianna Samsara. I can't say my name. Please forgive me. I'll explain in a moment. This is episode 215, and I am so excited because this beautiful soul that you are seeing on the screen with me is Erin Reese. Hello, Erin.
Hello. Hi, Irlianna.
I am so excited. All right, so guys, you got to understand, for 6 months, Erin and I have been talking, and first of all, props to Andrea Michelle, the magnificent, beautiful, my star soul sister. She introduced me to another star soul sister, and this is Erin. Erin is here. We're going to be talking today about the Sag season, but way more than that, because Sag is all about, truth and higher wisdom and occult wisdom and spiritual philosophy and the higher path, our God consciousness. And so I thought no better person. Erin has written 3 amazing books. The third one is just coming out now. And we're going to be talking just in the beginning, touching base about Sag season, but we're going to launch into a rabbit hole. This is such a deep rabbit hole. I don't know if you noticed, but my eyes are red because I was like, as soon as I got on the Zoom call with her, I started crying. So this is a really deep, profound mystery. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I know in my heart that I have to do more than 1 episode. So this is at least 2 episodes. But there's nobody better I could think of to lead us through Sag season. Erin's not a Sag, but she's got a big old stellium Sag. So she's very qualified. And the fact that she has spent so many years in India, but I'm going to let her tell you all about that. What an American in India, years of outrageous cosmic and mystical adventures. And these are her memoirs. So we're going to be sharing about that. As a matter of fact, I might as well, Erin, just pull up the screen, and your first one being a BINDI girl. This is, hopefully you can see that on the screen, The Adventures of BINDI Girl, Diving Deep into the Heart of India. This is an ebook and hardcover on Amazon. And that came out, about 10 years ago, was it?
2012. Yeah, the stories were written between 2002 to about 2007, and it came out in 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 10 years old. She's 10 years old.
She's 10 years old.
Anniversary.
And then the second book to come out was Truth Seeker.
Yes, that came out in 2021. Finished that during the pandemic. Yes.
During the pandemic. And so can you see that on the screen? The truth,
it looks a little cut off.
Oh, wait,
but,
sorry.
Oh, there we are.
Okay, so a spiritual adventure of love, loss, and liberation. And it's just incredible. Erin, you're such a great writer. I love the way you write. So this is the second book, and then the third book is about to come out, right? BINDI Girl 2, Part 2. So I know many of us, maybe almost everyone I think on this podcast has seen Eat, Pray, Love. Honestly, I think your books are like Eat, Pray, Love on steroids. It's pretty
That's
outrageous.
Funny. I actually did have somebody write that it was like Eat, Pray, Love with teeth.
With teeth, right? Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, I think, yeah, it was what I borrowed from that wise person, because they're right. I loved Eat, Pray, Love. I thought it was amazing, and as much as I love that, I think these books there's just nothing like these. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with Sag season. I know we've got an amazing Sag season here. Can you just tell us about the new moon coming in Sag? Do you want me to pull up the screen for that, or?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's always fun for folks. The main thing, we all know, for most of us that are interested in astrology, that some of the main themes of Sagittarius that kind of go into this theme of why we're talking also about these books, which is long distance travel, exotic travel, adventure, risk, and also spiritual seeking, the 9th house. And what I see with regard to this new moon is that fabulous stellium. It's a wide stellium, but I see the sun, the moon, Mercury, and Venus just so happy together. Like we need the joy and the light right now. We need it. If we think about it, we had 2 years in a row, 2 holiday seasons in a row in North America and many places around the world, where it was during the pandemic and it was difficult for folks to see each other. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of what's going on in the world. It was pretty morbid. And I feel like this year is bringing in a lot of grace and fun. And we're bringing some of the hardy har, Sagittarius energy, very jovial. And I know you have something to say also about Jupiter stationing a few hours after the new moon. Would you like to say something about that? That's really important here.
Yeah, I noticed that it's interesting because Jupiter is it's at 28 degrees of Pisces and it's stationary direct point. So it's slowed down, and it's ready to go boink, right? And it's literally 5 minutes after the new moon, Jupiter goes direct. It's been retrograde for like 5 months. And so to me, it feels like the horse. It's like the horse in those, the horse races where all the horses line up in those metal stalls before the bell rings and they're all like ready to go. So the Jupiter, we've been looking at our truth. What is our truth? What is our highest truth of who we are? And it's been in that retrograde. And now it's like, boom, ready to like in Jupiter style and Sag style, the quivering arrow of the archer. It's like, and then 5 minutes after the new moon, boom, it's like takes off. So it feels like everything you said, a joy and hope.
Right. And another word for Jupiter, I believe, is Jove. That's
right.
That joviality and that generosity of spirit that's coming in, real generosity. And obviously most everyone here, I'm sure, knows that Jupiter is the current ruler, is the ruler of Sag. So it's double power here. The other thing that really stands out for me in this new moon is the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is still quite active, and it's in an out of sign trine to this new moon. It's almost in Aries, that would have been the trine in fire. But the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction right now for me is bringing a grace portal. I feel it. I've been feeling it ever since we all kind of licked our wounds after that Sagittarius, after the eclipse. The eclipse a couple weeks ago, everybody was like, oh gosh, if I only want to get into Sag, like please just give me some relief, and so
get me out of this underworld.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So we're coming out a little bit and putting our twinkly lights up after, Thanksgiving, and lighting our candles and saying our prayers or doing our practices, whatever makes us feel good. And I feel that there is a lot available on offer for us. And if we can kind of keep it on the bright side as we go into this holiday season, we can have some real healing with our family members and our extended family members here. And many, many miracles can come in right now. That's
and of course, Jupiter being the domicile ruler of Sag season and the new moon, it's that. And also with I'm looking at that square. Mars is, it's still a tight square with Neptune, the Mars Neptune square, which kind of perfected over the weekend, but that's still resonating as we head into Thanksgiving. And the fact that Mars in Gemini, it's about like, hey, look at things in a different way. When you say about healing and compassion and forgiveness, it's like, yeah, look at things, especially with our, Gemini rules siblings. And here we're going to gather around the Thanksgiving table. And it's like, there's this opportunity for healing. And I just feel emotional just saying it, it's like huge.
Agreed.
And Venus and the ruler of that, he's in Gemini's temple, Mercury's temple. So Mercury conjunct Venus in Sag. So, getting together with loved ones and speaking one's truth and the highest truth, like how beautiful is that? I mean, thank God, because that was a rough coincidence.
And I'm sure we're all going to overdo it, right? We're all going to eat a little much, maybe drink a little much, just drink your water and your apple cider vinegar or whatever it is, because that's so much Sag energy coming in here.
Right, and also like food, and Venus rules food and sweets, so it's like an indulging. Okay, guys, look, yes, we're probably going to indulge in sweets, but I love the fact that on Monday, the next Monday, the 28th, like there's a trine. Mars will be in a trine with. It's already coming into one, but in a trine with Saturn. So it's like, okay, well, let's keep the good times going, but let's also be wise, and maybe have some raw green juicing here to we just
Yeah, right. Titrate it out. Exactly. Well, another thing that I find interesting is, again, we're all just so relieved, like the phoenix coming from the ashes after those eclipse cycles. I mean, we still have some more Taurus Scorpio eclipses, but that was a doozy, right?
Yeah.
That was a doozy. And I feel like, as we're kind of thinking about coming into the next calendar year of 2023 and this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, we're also preparing the ground for Saturn's entry into Pisces next year. This is the dissolvingness into spirit. And that also kind of segues into talking about being in India on a spiritual quest.
Oh, yeah.
But some folks are sort of like, what is Saturn and Pisces going to be about? But the opportunity is truly here to relax into spirit. And that also reminds me about the Sabian symbol for this new moon, which is at 2 degrees Sagittarius, which is an
do you want me to pull that up?
Oh, sure, if you like. But I can also just say that the ocean is the ocean covered in white tops. Or as Dane Rudger says, white-capped waves display the power of wind over sea. But in general, if we imagine the Sabian symbol of the ocean covered in white tops, we can be reminded, there, perfect. I actually had that as well. Same. That's beautiful. Exactly. The mobilization of unconscious energies under the pressure of superpersonal motives. This constant interplay of we are ocean, everything is ocean, all is ocean. And one of the many themes in my books, and especially in Truth Seeker, is truly understanding that the ego is a drop of that ocean. The ego is ocean as well. It just forgets, and it believes that it is separate.
Ah, I love that. Oh, I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. The
Very
ego is
simple.
part of the ocean. It is. It's all part of that.
Everything is ocean.
Everything is ocean.
Everything is ocean.
I'm going to make t-shirts, everybody. Everything is ocean for Saturn and Pisces. This is the t-shirt. Everything
All is consciousness, ocean. Right? And so why not get, we can go off on a tangent on this, but I'm a fan of Saturn. I'm a fan of Saturn. He shows us in our chart where the work is. And if we show up for Saturn, I learned from my early mentors that Saturn always leaves a gift. So we look to Saturn. What is Saturn asking for us in duality, in the play of the Maya, of the world? And so if we kind of get on board with Saturn ahead of time, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Yeah. It's going to be a whole lot easier to understand that form is ocean. And right? Like, so we might as well do it now.
Yeah, like you're saying, like Saturn, if you get on, what is coming to me now is saying you get on board with Saturn and Saturn will get on board with you. Yeah. And it's funny, and what you just said about it will give you a reward. One of my first astrology teachers at Andrew, he always told me, he said, Saturn rewards effort. So he had me like put it on a big piece of paper and write it and tape it to the wall, going through a Saturn transit. Saturn rewards effort. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's why when it's so lovely for budding astrologers, a very, very simple transit to work with. And I know we're getting off on a tangent, but it's just so exciting, is that it's so easy to look at where Saturn is transiting in a chart and the house. And there you go. Person needs to know what they need to be focusing on. There you go.
Yeah, for the next 2.5 years. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
By the way, and it's okay that we're on tangents because that's Sag. It's the archer that has the arrows are going in so many directions. We can have fun with it. But I think I just want to say one more thing about the new moon. I mean, sorry, the full moon coming on. Just to briefly mention, that should be an interesting little spicy meatball. I also pulled that one up, so let me
Oh, I love spicy meatballs.
You like spice, right? Hey, you were in India, of course you like spice. What was Oh, silly. Hello. Anyway, no. So let me grab here it is. Here's the full moon in Gemini. Exactly. Partile conjunction with Mars. Woo! That's a spicy meatball. Now, but again, a wonderful opportunity here. Talk about passionately speaking your truth or passionately keeping your mind open and not getting into word wars with people, but to be passionate about and stand up courageously for one's own truth. That's what comes to me.
That's definitely a theme that we're seeing across the board with this long transit of Mars in Gemini, which I think a lot of people were feeling like it would be super uber buzzy. And okay, it is buzzy. There is a lot going on. It's a wonderful time for folks to put their words out or their podcast or whatever it is. But it's also, as we've been seeing with all of these huge metamorphoses that have been going on with the last few years, people have been called to ground in and speak and write their truth in new ways. And exactly what you're saying, the courage for me comes from the Sag.
Right. Yeah. Bold.
Right.
Yeah. New places to, to conquer. We're really conquering ourselves, but yeah, so this new moon, full moon, that should be interesting. And Uranus and the North Node are still, pretty close conjunction there. So there's still a lot of discovery with relating and relationships, and when we think about Venus being domicile ruler of that, relate the divine feminine and the goddess, and how that's coming into play as well. But yeah, so anyway, just that's about maybe all I want to, and I'll you guys, I can get more, we can do a little more of that as I'll do December astrology, and I'll get more granular with it. But I just want to kind of introduce you to Erin, and so we get these wheels moving. I just want to, I have 100 questions to ask you, Erin. I've read excerpts of your book, absolutely fascinated. My goodness. So you were raised, your mom was, I was gonna say, a cool mom. You were raised by this like cool hippie mom. You had like sadhus like dropping in on you in Northern California, and having these idyllic childhood, which unfortunately so many kids don't have now. You had this great childhood. Then you were in the corporate world in San Francisco, like, fade to black. And then you're like, oh my God, like this isn't it. And then you like sell everything and go to India. We should make a movie about this. I want to know, like, how is it what made you go there, and you felt driven, you did that, and then you just had this, what is it? How did you decide that you're going to go to India? Just start there.
Okay, sure. Well, just to back up just a little bit, I love that you saw my childhood as idyllic. It actually was far from idyllic. What was idyllic was the mind of the child and the Sagittarius pluck, the Sag stellium pluck that I had to create beauty or joy out of nothing, because we actually were very poor and there weren't many opportunities. And some of those stories might actually they will come into BINDI Girl too, about the mind of a child, in the magical child, can make lemonade out of lemons. So
yeah,
I was exposed to a lot of alternative thinking, astrology, vegetarianism, yoga, all of that early on, all living off the grid. But it was definitely very hard. But I'm grateful that I had that pluck, that energy to turn it into something beautiful and to be influenced in a positive way by especially music and all of that, rock and roll, and sort of living free life, and in a life in nature. So those things went in very, very deep. But after college and careers and business and so forth, and an early marriage and an early divorce, I moved to San Francisco and I had nothing. I had 2 suitcases and my pluck again. And I did have an ability for sales, but I never made more than minimum wage, really, or $12 an hour or something like that. And so I just had a lot of fire. So I put all of my energy into what was recruiting, human resources recruiting at the time, but I was a headhunter. Somebody said, oh, you might be good at this. And I tried it.
And you
And
worked.
it worked because I had nothing to lose. And that's one of the themes of life and of my books and of real freedom, is that when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. When you're not the whole point of the spiritual search, if one is sincere to the core, is there needs to be a willingness to lose everything, everything, everything. So yes, I put all of my 29-year-old, 30-year-old self into building a career, and I was very, very successful. But I also had a lot of spiritual and a spiritual awareness and a lot of psychological work that I had to do to heal from my not so great childhood. So I was deeply existentially suffering. On the outside, super successful, very confident, and on the inside, tremendous unhappiness. And it was a type of unhappiness that I'm sure many viewers and listeners can relate to, where it doesn't matter what's happening in the outside world or how much money is in the bank account or even about the relationship. There's a deep, deep loneliness of the soul. And knowing that no matter how glitzy and fun the life is, something deep is missing. So I had quit the job. I also I needed to be more free. And there was a dip in the market at the time with the .com era, and I had the choice of either riding the wave and muscling my way through this sort of mini recession that was going on around 2001. But I decided that I had saved enough money at the time, and I knew that I needed to go to a place where I wouldn't necessarily have to come back to a bunch of things. So I gave up my apartment and my possessions, but that was just the first round of doing it. The second round was a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had done a lot of yoga and meditation, Vipassana especially. So that was my grounding of being over there the first time, was meditation retreats and practicing. But what I found was in that first trip, and which was 6 months solo, that it would only scratch the surface.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's just, yeah.
I was not ready to come back.
Yeah. I've heard that from people I know who have been to India, studied there, lived there for a while. And I can't even imagine, in a way, I can't imagine the crash because of how they live. And one of my friends, she had lived there for 2 years and she taught English to Yogi Bhajan's grandchildren. And so she was an English teacher, but she said that she could hardly sleep at night because the vibe of India, because thousands and thousands of years of prayers, people praying, and monks, and she said the energy it was like palpable, like from the earth, and it was such a high vibe of prayer that she didn't even sleep. She said she didn't have to sleep for more than like 5 hours a night because it was such, and like we don't have that in this country. We all have the potential, but there is that richness. And I'll just say this really quickly. I remember somebody said, Yogananda had said to somebody about when he lived in the United States and founded SRF, that we have this society where India and the United States have an interesting kind of mirroring to each other, because the United States, well, the India is so rich in her spiritual wealth, but the poverty, the material poverty, is so big. And he said it's the other way around. In our country, we're so wealthy, but we have been so spiritually poor. And I just remembered that. But
I would agree. Yeah, that was something that being a meditator at the time, what I found was that the only way to truly survive and not feel totally panicked or afraid when you're and when you're backpacking and living like a vagabond through India and living traveling like a local, living like a local, not comfortable. But the chaos of India is so intense, the crowds, the sensations, everything is happening all at once, that the only way to get through it is to be in a constant meditation. So the whole life pushes one into present time. Absolutely. That's the only way to get through. There is my experience and understanding of the universe is ultimately we have no greater control at all, right? But in India, it's obvious. And so India becomes herself the teacher. India is the teacher herself.
And that's in your face, that the chaos and the lepers in the street and the rickshaw drivers and the
all out there
and the smog of the the vehicles that have no pollution control, and it's just coming at you from and then the sadhus and the Naga Babas walking naked through the streets covered in ash. It's like,
that's right.
Oh my God, like yeah, that's like
nothing
wow.
is hidden. This is the other part of it being a teacher, is that some people, of course, are horrified by the poverty, and it is horrible. And yet at the same time, what we see in India is that things like the disgust and the poverty and the lack are all on display, like you said. Nothing is hidden. There's no veneer in that regard.
And the begging, and like I want to give to everybody, which I'm sure lots of people you've probably heard. And like, do you get inured after a while? Like you when you say it's always in your face, but people with no limbs. There was that chapter in your book where you were on the train and this man with no arms just comes up in he had pockets in his shirt, freshly press a fresh pressed shirt with these pockets, and he would like lean in and like, can you give me some money? But like, how do you ever you don't get over that? It's like, how did you deal with all that with the begging? I'm just curious. I have 1,000 questions to ask you, but at least for now we can get this much done.
There's so much there with the begging. I mean, one of the things in the teachings of India, the spiritual teachings, and take what you like and leave the rest, is that some folks believe that the beggars come in, that's a really high incarnation to come in as a beggar, because what it does is it allows another person to actually give and experience the pleasure, or not the pleasure, but the relief of giving. So they're actually doing a high, this is again on a spiritual level, one aspect of it. The other thing is that you do have to, as a woman traveling alone for so many years, which was 5 years total in all, you do have to build a certain protection up, not just about the beggars, but also about the attention that's coming in. Because many times you're seen as a walking wallet with relatively, you do have more money than most. So there's a lot of attention coming at you that can be overwhelming. So one has to make their choices when they start engaging with the environment.
And also being a woman, a young, beautiful woman who is white, and like there's all that. And like, how do you deal with that? The sexual aspect of how they may perceive, the Indian man, different culture. How did you navigate all that?
There's a lot there. In fact, I have one of my new book that's coming out in early 2023 has a section about staying healthy and traveling well in India. I even have like a little couple recipes in there and things about neti pot and Ayurveda and fun things like that. But I also have chapters about cultural immersion, and for women, like how to be aware as a woman how one is carrying themselves in India. So some of the things like just being aware of how one dresses, not to feel like you're having to wear a uniform, but obviously what is considered to be respectful as a woman, and covering your shoulders, or not wearing tight little yoga clothes, if you're running around in Rishikesh or something like that. So I often found that dressing traditionally, and I didn't wear a sari, but I wore a salwar kameez or a Punjabi outfit with the long top tunic, and that's all, that feels very good. You feel comfortable. You don't feel like you're you know,
standing out,
and you feel like you're respecting the culture. And I also found that when I really needed privacy energetically, because I'm a highly sensitive person, covering my head is very helpful. So wearing a shawl, and then
protecting the
also,
crown chakra.
there's so many things about daily self-care when you're doing that kind of living like a wandering renunciate in a way. Self-care meaning making the choice of when to make eye contact with people. Now, coming from the United States, it's a very friendly thing to look at everybody and give a big smile. But that what that does is, if some days it's great if you feel like you have enough energy for it, but other days you're invoking a contact. When you're looking at someone in the eyeballs, you're looking and you're exchanging soul information. So there would be times where I would just keep my energy very contained, for example. So that's one example of how I would take care of myself. And as far as the beggars go, as at first I lived in India so long that I actually didn't have a lot of money. But when I started to feel making a little bit more money, travel writing and things, and astrology and tarot, I would start to just give little 10 rupee bills or 5 rupee bills as much as I could whenever I had change. And then there were other times where it was just too overstimulating and I couldn't do it, you know, couldn't do it.
Yeah, you
But I
can just
always
do
gave
it.
when I could, when I had enough energy and enough change, I would.
But and it just, so like it's this whole concept of India being like consciousness, and like our engagement with it is how we engage with life. And there are times and it's fine that you couldn't do it all the time. And you know, I guess it was just probably I would think it would be the biggest mirror of your life was going there, and like the lessons you've learned, and the, oh my God, the episode, you're such a good writer. And I felt like I feel when I read your books and I'm right there, it's like I'm in India. And which, by the way, I've always felt a real soul pull, and especially reading your book, I really want to go, you know.
That's when I first flew into India. I had that message sort of downloaded from me myself, which was, India will show me the places in my heart that are not yet purified.
Wow. Whether you like it or not, and
like it or
things that you
not,
think are pure really aren't pure.
yeah, and by pure I mean authentic, I mean true. I don't mean lily white, you know, because we have our darkness and our lightness, all of us. There is one other last aspect that I wanted to mention about being in India as a foreigner or in other exotic countries, but let's take India as the primary example. When we're living in our own native country, say the United States, we are not as aware of a superego glaze over the culture. This is the fishbowl that we live in, and it's like a map. It's like a grid that we follow, and it takes quite a bit of spiritual awareness and meditation to be able to see through that veneer, and that's worthy efforting. And so when we're in a place like India, the superego of the culture is so drastically 180 that we're able to see the Maya, we're able to see the illusion and the play of humanity like a theater, obviously, because it doesn't match our normal grid. And this is an excellent lesson, because we have the same play of the Maya, of the illusion, of the impermanence here where we live now. It's the same type of play, but we aren't able to see it as well because we're entrained into the superego of the culture. So that's another thing. The shock can be a great teacher in that regard. And of course, then let's not forget the incredible beauty of India, the incredible beauty of the culture, and the textures, the spices, the colors. I mean, when you ask why India, you know, I was always drawn to the music, Ravi Shankar and Jai Uttal, and
Yes,
before
I
Krishna
love them.
Das, you know, things like this. And I had always read Baba Ram Das, Be Here Now. So I
Mm,
was well primed, and I loved the spices and the colors.
yes,
It's just, it has to be, again, coming back to Sagittarius energy, the most exotic, the most ninth house. You know, let's go far, and let's not just go far, but let's go for a very, very long time and be one of
right.
those adventurers
Where you
and see
immerse
what
yourself.
happens.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
total immersion. And then you come out
exactly.
a whole new person. Wow. Well, I know we've just today on this broadcast, we've just scratched the surface, but at least we got an intro going here. And I definitely, let's do another, in the second part of our episode, I want to get deep into. So guys, come back to the next episode with this 2 and 5, 2 and 6, and come back to, you know, we're going to go even deeper with this. And like this, what I'm hearing is to talk about that in the next podcast, the long, dark night of the soul, and like what those raw realizations, and that where you were just ripped away. I'm sure there were times when it was not easy, and it was like ripped away from your heart, broken, and the Maya and everything, just, you know, that long dark night of the soul and what precipitated it and how you got through it. Because I know there's a lot of that for us, having come out of, like you said earlier, 2-3 years of this pandemic, you know, and it's like there's been a long dark night of the soul for so many of us, and what truths we can garner that will assist us. And even if we don't go to India personally, I get so much out of reading your books. It's a huge service you've done. We're so grateful that you wrote these books. I hope you keep writing, because they're really awesome.
Thank you
So
so
anyway,
much.
yeah, I just want to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you. And I can't wait to get to this next episode, because I know we're gonna dive even deeper. So all right,
Great.
so guys, this is it for today with our, you know, you have your introduction. We have gotten onto the car, like the roller coaster, and we put the bar down, and now we're gonna go.
We're on the train.
We're
Yep.
on the train, right? The Darjeeling
Right.
Express. We drop
Yes.
your
Oh, great
baggage,
movie. I love it.
right? Drop your baggage and just drop the past and just be here now.
That's right.
All right.
Enjoy the
So
ride.
yes. Enjoy the ride. Yeah. Anyway, all right, that's all for now, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Jai Ma, namaste.
Hi, Ma.
Erin Reese, Irlianna, Samsara, StarSound Astrology, StarSound Speaks. Thank you all for listening. Bye for now.